Olivia Mason walked alone through the desert as the sun began to set. The orange glow painted the Nevada sand and rocks in warm colors. This was her favorite time to be outside. No one bothered her here. No one could see her cry. At 17, Olivia felt older than her years. Her long brown hair blew across her face in the gentle wind. She kicked at rocks as she walked, hands deep in the pockets of her worn jean jacket. School had been hard today. Home would be worse. Just another hour, she whispered to herself. Another hour before she had to go back to her mother's silent house. Another hour of peace. Then she saw it. A thin trail of smoke rising from behind. A large rock formation. Curious, Olivia changed direction and climbed over several smaller rocks to investigate. In a small crater lay a strange object. It was about the size of a football, metallic, and still warm. Parts of it glowed with a faint blue light. Olivia looked around. No one else was in sight for miles. "What are you?" she asked, kneeling beside the object. It wasn't like any meteor she had seen in science books. The surface had patterns that looked almost like writing. Olivia reached out slowly and touched it. The object wasn't hot anymore, just warm. As her fingers made contact, the blue glow pulsed brighter for a moment. She pulled back quickly, but nothing else happened. After a few minutes of careful examination, Olivia decided to take it home. Her science teacher, Mr. Bell, might know what it was. Or maybe she could look it up online. She removed her jacket, wrapped the object carefully, and placed it in her backpack. The walk home took longer with the extra weight. By the time Olivia reached the small house she shared with her mother, the sky was dark and filled with stars. She entered quietly. The TV was on in the living room, but her mother had fallen asleep on the couch. Empty wine bottles sat on the coffee table. Olivia sighed. This was normal now, ever since Dad left last year. Olivia went to her bedroom and closed the door. She placed her backpack on the bed and carefully unwrapped the strange object. In the light of her room, she could see more details. The surface wasn't smooth, but covered in tiny scales, like a lizard or snake. "This is definitely not a normal rock," she muttered. She took some photos with her phone, then placed the object on her desk. After a quick dinner of microwaved leftovers, Olivia showered and got ready for bed. Her homework remained untouched. One more failed assignment wouldn't make much difference to her grades now. In the middle of the night, Olivia woke to a strange sound. A soft scratching noise came from her desk. She turned on her lamp and gasped. The object had changed. A metal surface had split open, revealing something inside. Something alive. A small creature, no bigger than a kitten, crawled out of the broken shell. It had deep blue scales that shimmered in the light. 2 tiny wings were folded against its back. Its head was shaped like a lizard's, but with more intelligence in it. Golden eyes than any reptile Olivia had ever seen. "No way," Olivia breathed. The creature turned toward her voice and tilted its head. "You look like a tiny dragon." The creature made a soft chirping sound and took a tentative step forward on her desk. Olivia stayed very still, afraid of scaring. The creature, the dragon, moved closer to the edge of the desk, its eyes never leaving her face. Then something strange happened. Olivia felt a gentle touch in her mind, like a whisper without words. A feeling of curiosity that wasn't her own. "Are you ... in my head?" she asked, bewildered. The dragon chirped again, and this time Olivia felt a clearer sensation. Not words exactly, but understanding. The creature was saying hello. "This can't be real," Olivia said, pinching herself. "Dragons aren't real. And they definitely don't come from space." The dragon sat back on its haunches and stretched its wings slightly. Another feeling touched Olivia's mind, mild offense, as if the creature were saying, I am very real. Slowly, Olivia extended her hand. The dragon watched it approach, then gently pressed its head against her finger. The scales were warm and smooth. You need a name, Olivia said. The creature's scales glimmered with blue light, reminding her of electricity. How about Spark? The dragon, Spark, made a pleased sound. Olivia felt warmth in her mind, acceptance of the name. You have to stay hidden, she told Spark. If anyone finds you, bad things might happen. Scientists would take you away. Understanding flowed from Spark to Olivia. The dragon knew about hiding. It had been sent to observe, not to be seen. Sent by who? Olivia asked, surprised by this knowledge that had somehow transferred to her. Images filled her mind. Vast ships among stars, creatures like Spark, but much larger. A mission to study Earth. Spark was a scout, young and inexperienced. The landing had gone wrong. You crashed, Olivia said. Are you hurt? Spark shook its head and projected feelings of health, but also hunger. Olivia snuck to the kitchen and returned with leftover chicken and a bowl of water. The dragon ate delicately, but with obvious hunger. As Spark ate, Olivia felt their mental connection grow. Stronger. Emotions and simple thoughts flowed between them. Spark was curious about her, about humans, about Earth. The dragon was also surprised by the intensity of Olivia's emotions, the sadness and loneliness that colored her thoughts. My life isn't great right now, Olivia explained quietly. Dad left us last year for a new family. Mom drinks too much. The kids at school ... She trailed off, tears forming in her eyes. Spark stopped eating and looked up at her. Confusion came through their link. The dragon didn't understand human pain, human emotions. In Spark's world, such feelings were considered primitive and dangerous. You think emotions are bad? Olivia asked, wiping her eyes. Spark projected images of conflict, war, destruction, all caused by emotional beings throughout the galaxy. But emotions aren't all bad, Olivia argued. There's also love, joy, kindness. Spark tilted its head, considering this. The concept seemed foreign to the dragon species. That night, Olivia made a small nest for Spark in her dresser drawer, using old t-shirts. As she drifted off to sleep, she felt the dragon watching her through their mental link, observing her dreams, learning about human life through her memories. For the first time in months, Olivia didn't feel completely alone. Weeks passed, and Spark grew more accustomed to life in Olivia's room. The small dragon stayed hidden whenever Olivia's mother entered, which wasn't often. Lisa Mason spent most of her time at work or asleep on the couch. Spark learned quickly. Through their mental link, the dragon absorbed English words and human concepts. They could now communicate in simple thoughts rather than just feelings. Why do you go to this place that makes you sad? Spark asked one morning as Olivia prepared for school. It's called school. I have to go by law, Olivia explained, brushing her hair. And it's not all bad, but Spark knew better. Through their connection, the dragon felt everything Olivia felt. The dread as she approached the school building. The tension in her shoulders when Heather Mills walked by. The shame when teachers called on her and she didn't know the answers. Today was worse than usual. Olivia had to give a presentation in history class about World War II. She had worked hard on it, staying up late to finish her research. Spark watched through Olivia's eyes as she stood before the class. The dragon felt her racing heart, her dry mouth. The impact of World War II on American families was ... double quotes Olivia began. Speak up, loser. We can't hear your mumbling, Heather called from the back row. Several students laughed. Olivia's face burned red. Her hands shook. She tried to continue, but the words stuck in her throat. Miss Mason, please continue, the teacher said, Frowning, Olivia looked down at her notes, but the words blurred through her tears. More laughter rippled through the class. "I am sorry," she whispered, then grabbed her backpack and ran from the room. In the bathroom, Olivia locked herself in a stall and cried. Spark felt her pain so strongly that the dragon's own chest hurt. "Why do they enjoy hurting you?" Spark asked through their link. "Some people feel bigger when they make others feel small," Olivia replied silently. This concept puzzled Spark. The Drakari, Spark's species, had evolved beyond such behavior thousands of years ago. They considered emotion a primitive trait, one that led to chaos and destruction. Yet here was Olivia, in pain but not seeking revenge. It confused the dragon. That evening, Olivia's phone rang. It was her father, Peter. "Hey, kiddo," he said when she answered. "Just checking in. How's school?" "Fine." Olivia lead. She didn't tell him about the presentation disaster or her failing grades. "Good, good. Listen, Karen and I are taking the twins to Disney World next month. I know we talked about you visiting during spring break, but maybe we can reschedule for summer." Olivia's heart sank. "Sure, Dad, whatever works. You're the best, kiddo. I knew you'd understand. Hey, I gotta run. Love you." He hung up before she could respond. Olivia sat on her bed, phone still in hand, tears falling silently. Spark crawled out from under the bed and climbed into her lap. The dragon's scales were warm against her skin. "He has forgotten you," Spark observed. "He has a new family now," Olivia said, stroking Spark's head. "New kids who don't remind him of his old life, who don't remind him of Mom." Spark absorbed this information with growing curiosity. The dragon had been sent to Earth to observe humans, to help the Drakari, decide if this emotional species was a threat to galactic peace. But the more Spark watched Olivia, the more the dragon questioned Drakari wisdom. The next day at school, Olivia saw a group of older boys pushing a younger student. They had taken his backpack and were playing keep away with it. Without thinking, Olivia walked over. "Give it back to him," she said quietly. The boys turned to her, surprised. "Mind your own business, weirdo," one of them said. "Give it back," Olivia repeated, her voice stronger. "Or I'll tell Principal Evans about the cigarettes you hide behind the gym." The boy glared at her, but threw the backpack down. "Whatever. Come on, guys." The younger boy looked at Olivia with gratitude. "Thanks," he said simply before hurrying away. Spark felt a warm glow inside Olivia after this encounter. It wasn't happiness exactly, but something the dragon had never felt before. "What is this feeling?" Spark asked through their link. "Satisfaction, I guess," Olivia replied. "Knowing you did the right thing." That night, Olivia found a small bird with a broken wing in the backyard. She carefully brought it inside and made a small box with a soft towel for it. "We should take it to the Wildlife Center tomorrow," she told Spark as she gave the bird some water. "They can help it better than I can." Spark watched with interest. "Why help this creature? It is not your kind." "It's hurt," Olivia said simply. "It needs help." Spark pondered this. The Drakari would never waste resources on a lesser species. Efficiency and logic ruled their decisions. Yet this human girl, despite her own pain, extended care to others. Even to a small bird of no importance. As the days passed, Spark continued to observe. The dragon watched as Olivia's mother came home drunk again, shouting about bills and her ex-husband. Saw how Olivia quietly cleaned up the broken glass from a thrown wine bottle without complaint. Spark also noticed the thin scars on Olivia's wrists when she changed clothes. One night, the dragon watched through their mental link as Olivia sat in the bathroom with a razor blade, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't," Spark communicated desperately. Olivia looked up, startled by the intensity of the dragon's Thought. It helps sometimes, she whispered. The pain inside is so big, Spark. Sometimes physical pain is easier to handle. This is not logical, Spark insisted. Emotions aren't logical, Olivia replied, but she put the blade away. Later that night, as Olivia slept, Spark received a transmission from the Drakari mothership. It was approaching Earth's solar system, arriving in 3 days to evaluate Spark's findings and make a final judgment on humanity. The small dragon looked at the sleeping girl. According to Drakari standards, humans were dangerous, too emotional, too unpredictable. But Spark had seen something the other Drakari hadn't. Something important. The question was whether Spark could make them understand before it was too late. Olivia sat alone at lunch, pushing food around her tray without eating. Spark, hidden in her backpack with a small opening to see through, watched with concern. Through their mental link, the dragon could feel Olivia's sadness like a heavy weight. You should eat, Spark suggested silently. Not hungry, Olivia replied in her mind. Across the cafeteria, Olivia spotted Zoe Bennett, the closest thing she had to a friend. Zoe sat with Heather Mills and her group, laughing at something on Heather's phone. Olivia tried to ignore them until she noticed Heather point in her direction, causing the whole group to look and laugh harder. Zoe caught Olivia's eye and quickly looked away, her smile fading for just a moment. What's wrong? Spark asked, feeling Olivia's sudden spike of anxiety. Before she could answer, Heather and her friends approached Olivia's table. Hey, loser, Heather said, dropping a familiar notebook on the table. Thanks for the entertainment. Olivia stared at the notebook in horror. It was her journal, filled with her most private thoughts and feelings, the one she had shown only to Zoe. Where did you get this? Olivia whispered. Your bestie Zoe thought we'd find it interesting, Heather smirked. And boy, was she right. Dear Diary, sometimes I think about disappearing forever. ... Single quotes. So dramatic. The group erupted in laughter. Zoe stood at the back, looking uncomfortable, but not speaking up. Olivia grabbed her journal and backpack and ran from the cafeteria. She didn't stop until she reached the girls' bathroom, locking herself in a stall as tears streamed down her face. They read my private thoughts, she told Spark between sobs. Zoe gave them my journal. She was supposed to be my friend. Spark didn't fully understand human betrayal, but the dragon felt Olivia's pain as if it were physical. Through their connection, Spark experienced what it meant to trust someone and have that trust broken. That evening, things got worse. Olivia's mother came home with her boyfriend Frank. They had both been drinking. Olivia, make some coffee. Her mother slurred. Falling onto the couch, Olivia went to the kitchen to start the coffee maker. Frank followed her. Your mom says you're failing school, he said, leaning against the doorway. What's wrong with you? Too stupid to pass basic. Classes? Leave me alone, Frank, Olivia said quietly. Don't talk to me like that, you ungrateful brat, Frank snapped. Your mom works 2 jobs to take care of you, and you can't even pass a test? No wonder your dad left. Olivia flinched as if he had hit her. Spark, hidden in her bedroom, felt the pain of those words cut through their link. The coffee's ready, Olivia said, her voice hollow. I have homework. She escaped to her room and closed the door. Spark crawled out from under the bed and onto her lap as she sat cross-legged on the floor. He is wrong about you, the dragon said firmly. Olivia stroked Spark's scales. Is he? I am failing. And Dad did leave. Not because of you, Spark insisted. Olivia's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from her father. Sorry, kiddo. Can't make your birthday next week after all. Work trip came up. We'll send a gift card. Love you. Olivia turned off her phone without responding. Her birthday was supposed to be the one day her father had promised to visit. Now even that was gone. Everything is falling apart, she whispered Dot later that night. After her mother and Frank had passed out in the living room, Olivia slipped out of the house. Spark remained hidden in her jacket pocket as she walked through the dark desert. Night was clear and cold, stars blazing overhead. Olivia walked for almost an hour until she reached a cliff overlooking the valley. It was beautiful in a stark, empty way. She stood at the edge, looking down at the rocks below. The drop was at least 50 feet. "What are you doing?" Spark asked, alarmed by her thoughts. "I'm so tired, Spark," Olivia said aloud. "Tired of feeling this way. Tired of being alone. Tired of being a burden to everyone." "You are not alone," Spark said, crawling out of her pocket to look at her. "And you are not a burden." "Everyone would be better off without me," Olivia said, tears falling freely now. Mom could start over without me reminding her of Dad. Dad could focus on his new family. No one at school would even notice I was gone. "I would notice," Spark said firmly. "I would feel your absence like losing part of myself." Olivia looked down at the small dragon, whose scales glowed blue in the moonlight. "You don't understand. Spark, you're from a species that doesn't feel pain like humans do. Your people think emotions are a weakness, a flaw." Spark was quiet for a moment, then made a decision that went against every directive the Drakari had given. The small dragon began to glow brighter, shifting form until it stood upright, growing to about 3 feet tall. Its wings extended, and its face became more defined. Olivia stumbled back from the edge of the cliff in shock. "Spark, what are you doing?" "I need to show you the truth," Spark said, its voice now audible rather than just in Olivia's mind. "My people, the Drakari, are coming to Earth. They will be here tomorrow." "Coming? Why?" "To judge humanity. To decide if your species is too dangerous to join the galactic community." Spark's golden eyes looked sad. "Species driven by emotion often destroy themselves or others. The Drakari prevent this through observation and, if necessary, isolation." "Isolation? What does that mean?" Olivia asked. "A barrier around your solar system. No human would ever leave Earth." Olivia sat down hard on a rock. "Because we have feelings? That's why we'd be quarantined?" "Emotions lead to chaos, to violence, to unpredictable actions," Spark explained. "At least, that is what the Drakari believe. But you don't believe that anymore?" Olivia asked, noticing the doubt in Spark's voice. "I have been inside your mind, Olivia. I have felt your pain. But I have also felt your kindness, your compassion for others, even when you are suffering. My people are wrong about emotions." Spark moved closer to Olivia. "Through you, I have learned that pain can lead to empathy. That sadness can make joy more meaningful. That humans use their emotions not just for destruction, but for creation and connection." The dragon looked up at the stars. "The mothership will arrive at dawn. I was sent as a scout to observe and report. My report will determine humanity's fate." Olivia wiped her tears. "And what will you tell them?" "That humans are worth knowing. That your emotions are not just a weakness, but a strength." Spark turned back to Olivia. "But I need you to believe that too. I need you to step back from this cliff and help me show my people the truth about humanity." Olivia looked at the drop below and back at Spark. In the dragon's golden eyes, she saw something she hadn't seen in a long time: hope. Olivia took a deep breath and stepped back from the cliff edge. The cold desert wind whipped her hair across her face as she looked at Spark, whose blue scales glowed brighter in the darkness. "What can I possibly do to help?" she asked. "I'm just one girl. Nobody even listens to me." Spark moved closer, wings slightly unfurled. "There is a way, but it has never been done with a human before. It is forbidden by my people, except in the most extreme circumstances." "What way?" "Olivia, asked, a joining, a merging of our essences. Spark's golden eyes seemed to look into her soul. The HFY can share consciousness with compatible beings. It would create something new, not fully human, not fully HFY. Olivia stared at the dragon. You mean ... become one being? Is that even possible? Yes, but it is irreversible. You would no longer be only Olivia. I would no longer be only Spark. We would become something else entirely. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Olivia looked up to see storm clouds gathering. Unusual for the desert. Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating the landscape. The scout ship approaches, Spark explained. They sense my unauthorized communication with you. What happens if we don't join? Olivia asked. I will be recalled and reprogrammed. My memories of you will be erased. The HFY will likely decide humans are too volatile to join the galactic community. Olivia thought about her life, the pain, the loneliness, the constant struggle. Then she thought about Spark, about the connection they shared, the first. Real understanding she had felt in years. Will it hurt? She asked quietly. Yes, Spark admitted. The physical transformation will be painful, but afterward, you will never be alone again. The wind picked up and lightning struck closer now. In the flashes, Olivia could see a small metallic object descending from the clouds, a ship no larger than a car. They're here, she whispered. We must decide now, Spark urged. Olivia closed her eyes. She thought about her mother, lost in alcohol and grief. Her father, who had moved on to a new family. Her classmates, who either bullied her or ignored. Her, there was nothing holding her here, nothing to lose. And yet, she wasn't choosing this because she wanted to die. For the first time in a long time, she wanted to live, but as something more, something new. Let's do it, she said, opening, her eyes with newfound determination. Spark nodded and began to change. The dragon's form shifted, becoming pure energy, a swirling mass of blue light. It moved toward Olivia, surrounding her like a cocoon. The pain began immediately. Olivia felt like every cell in her body was being taken apart and rebuilt. She screamed, falling to her knees on the rocky ground. Lightning crashed around them, drawn to the energy of the transformation. The scout ship hovered nearby, its light scanning the cocoon of energy that now completely enveloped Olivia. Inside, she experienced Spark's memories, vast ships traveling between stars, ancient civilizations rising and falling, the history of the HFY, and their mission to maintain order in the galaxy. At the same time, Spark experienced the full depth of human emotion, not just Olivia's pain, but her capacity for joy, for love, for hope, even in the darkest moments. The dragon's consciousness expanded, understanding for the first time the true power of feelings. Hours passed as the storm raged around them. The cocoon pulsed with energy, growing brighter, then dimming, changing colors from blue to gold to purple and back again. The scout ship maintained its position, monitoring but not interfering. Inside the cocoon, Olivia felt her body changing. Her DNA restructured as Spark's essence merged with hers. Her senses sharpened, her mind expanded. The pain was unbearable. Yet she endured it, clinging to the connection with Spark that grew stronger with each passing moment. Finally, as dawn broke over the desert, the energy cocoon began to dissipate. The storm had passed, leaving the air clean and fresh. The scout ship moved closer, its sensors focused on what remained. Where Olivia had stood was now a new being. She was still humanoid in form, but changed in subtle yet profound ways. Her skin had a faint pattern of scales that shimmered in the morning light. Her eyes were larger, iridescent, shifting from blue to gold, depending on the angle of the light. Her hair moved slightly, as if stirred by an unfelt breeze. The new being opened her eyes and took her first breath. She felt the desert air fill lungs that were more efficient than human lungs. She saw colors that humans could not see, heard sounds beyond human range. But most importantly, she felt. The emotions were still there. Olivia's human emotions. But now controlled, understood, integrated with Drakari knowledge and perspective. "We are one," she said aloud, her voice melodic with a slight resonance. "Neither fully human nor fully Drakari." The scout ship landed nearby, and a door opened. Two beings emerged, similar to what Spark had been, but larger, more developed. They approached cautiously, their golden eyes wary. "Scout Unit S-17, one of them said, addressing her by Spark's designation. "You have violated the non-interference directive. Explain yourself." The new being stood straight, unafraid. She could feel both Olivia's determination and Spark's knowledge, guiding her. "I am no longer S-17, she said. "You may call me Nova, and I have not violated the directive. I have fulfilled our true mission. I have found a species worthy of joining the galactic community." "Impossible," the second Drakari said. "Our scans show human emotion levels are beyond acceptable parameters." "They are unstable, dangerous," Nova smiled. "You are wrong. Let me show you." She reached out and touched the first Drakari's face. Through the contact, she shared what she now understood, how pain led to empathy, how fear could inspire courage, how love could triumph over hatred. She showed them Olivia saving the bird, standing up to bullies despite her own pain, choosing life when death seemed easier. The Drakari stepped back, visibly shaken by what it had experienced. "The Council must know of this," it said finally. "This changes everything we believed about emotional species." Nova nodded. "Yes, and I will be the one to tell them." She looked back at the cliff, where Olivia had almost ended her life. The sun was rising fully now, painting the desert in gold and red. In her mind, Olivia's memories and Spark's knowledge existed in perfect balance. "The mothership will arrive soon," the second Drakari said. "You must prepare to explain this." "Merger." "I am ready," Nova replied. For the first time in what felt like forever, she truly was. The Drakari mothership appeared in the sky as a massive dark cloud that blocked the morning sun. To human eyes, it looked like an unusual storm. To Nova, it was both familiar and strange. She recognized it through Spark's memories, but viewed it with Olivia's wonder. "It is time," said the taller Drakari. "The council awaits." Nova nodded and followed the two scouts into their small ship. Inside, the walls pulsed with soft blue light. She sat in a chair that formed around her body, supporting her comfortably. As the ship rose toward the mothership, Nova looked out at the desert town below. Somewhere down there was Olivia's mother, probably still asleep on the couch. There was her school, where Heather and the others would be arriving soon. There was the house where her father used to live. Part of her, the Olivia part, felt a pang of sadness. But another part, the Spark part, understood that this was a necessary transition. And the new part, the Nova part, knew that she would return to address unfinished business. The scout ship entered the mothership through an opening that appeared and disappeared like a mouth. They landed in a vast chamber filled with other ships. Drakari of various sizes moved about with purpose. "Follow us," the scout said. Nova walked behind them through curved corridors. Other Drakari stopped to stare at her, sensing something different, something unprecedented. She could feel their confusion and curiosity. Finally, they reached a large circular chamber. 7 Drakari sat on raised platforms, their scales darker and their wings larger than the others. This was the High Council, the leaders who would decide humanity's fate. "Scout Unit S-17, a central Drakari spoke, its voice deep and resonant. You have violated our most sacred law by merging with a lesser species. Explain your actions. Nova stepped forward. She could feel her heart beating fast, Olivia's nervousness, but she also felt Spark's confidence. Respected Council, I am no longer just S17. I am Nova, a new being born of both Drakari and human. I stand before you to challenge your understanding of humanity and of emotion itself. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The council leader raised a clawed hand for silence. You were sent to observe, not to interfere, it said sternly. Your data was to help us decide if humans should be isolated or welcomed. You have compromised this mission. I have completed this mission in a way you never expected, Nova replied. By joining with Olivia, I have gained insights no outside observer could ever achieve. She moved closer to the council. You believe emotions make species unstable and dangerous. You see feelings as a weakness to be overcome. But you are Rohu. The council members stirred uncomfortably. No one spoke to them this way. Show us, said a smaller council member to the right. Share what you have learned. Nova nodded and placed her hands on a glowing sphere in the center of the chamber. Images projected around them. Olivia's memories, but now seen through. Nova's combined perspective. They saw Olivia saving the injured bird despite her own pain. They saw her standing up to bullies to protect a younger student. They saw her caring for her mother after nights of drinking. They saw her choosing to live when it would have been easier to die. But they also saw the darker side, the cruelty of her classmates, the abandonment by her father, the hopelessness that had driven her to the cliff. Humans suffer, Nova explained. They feel pain so deeply it can destroy them. But that same capacity for feeling creates their greatest strength, empathy. They can understand others' suffering because they have suffered themselves. The council watched in silence as more images played around them. The Drakari evolved beyond emotion because you saw it as inefficient, chaotic. But in doing so, you lost something precious. The ability to truly connect with other beings, to grow through adversity, to find meaning in struggle. The head council member leaned forward. These humans fight wars over emotion. They destroy their own planet for greed. They harm each other out of hatred and fear. Yes, Nova acknowledged. Some do, but others heal the wounded, protect the weak, create beauty from nothing, and sacrifice themselves for strangers, all because of emotion, not despite it. The chamber fell silent as the council considered her words. Finally, the head member spoke again. What do you propose, Nova? That we welcome this volatile species into the galactic community? The risk is too great. I propose a new approach, Nova said. Neither isolation nor immediate inclusion. I offer myself as an ambassador between our worlds. Let me help humans understand they are not alone in the universe. Let me help the Drakari rediscover what they have lost. The council conferred silently. Among themselves, Nova waited, feeling both Olivia's anxiety and Spark's patience flowing through her. This is unprecedented, the head council member said finally. But so is your existence. We will allow this ambassadorship for 1 Earth year. If you can prove humanity is ready, we will reconsider our stance. Nova bowed her head in acceptance. Thank you, Council. 3 days later, Nova returned to Earth. Her first stop was Olivia's home. She found her mother passed out as usual, empty bottles scattered around. Using her new abilities, Nova touched her mother's forehead and sent a gentle suggestion into her mind, the desire to seek help, to become whole again. When Lisa Mason woke later that day, she felt different. She looked at the bottles around her, and for the first time, felt disgusted rather than tempted. She picked up her phone and called a rehabilitation center. Next, Nova visited Olivia's school. She didn't hide her changed appearance. Students and teachers stared as she walked the hallways, her skin shimming with subtle scales, her eyes changing color with her emotions. She found Heather and her friends in the cafeteria. They fell silent as she approached. "Who are you?" Heather asked, trying to sound tough but unable to hide her fear. "I am what Olivia became," Nova said simply. "I wanted you to know that your cruelty helped create me. In trying to break her, you made her stronger than you can imagine." Heather's face paled. "I don't understand." "You don't need to," Nova replied. "Just know that every person you hurt has the potential to become something extraordinary. Remember that the next time you want to cause pain." Nova's final visit was to Olivia's father. She waited outside his new home until he returned from work. When he saw her, he stopped in confusion. "Do I know you?" he asked. "You seem familiar somehow." "You knew part of me once," Nova said. "You were her father. But you chose to forget her." Recognition dawned in his eyes. "Olivia, what happened to you?" "Olivia found a new path," Nova explained. "She wanted you to know she's okay now. Better than okay. But she also wanted you to understand what your abandonment did to her." Nova touched his hand, sharing just enough of Olivia's memories to show him the pain he had caused. Tears filled his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to hurt her." "Intentions matter less than actions," Nova said. "Remember that with your new children." As the sun set over the desert, Nova stood once again at the cliff where Olivia had almost ended her life. But now, instead of despair, she felt purpose. Through her, humanity would have a voice among the stars. Through her, the Drakari would rediscover the value of emotion. She spread her arms and looked up at the darkening sky, knowing the mothership watched from orbit, invisible to human eyes. "I am the bridge between worlds," she said to the stars. "Born of pain, but living in hope. Neither fully human nor fully alien." Nova smiled as the first stars appeared. Olivia's journey had ended, but hers was just beginning.